Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to the podcast that thinks we might be brewing for a massive fight this week. And that fight is going to reflect the critical response that has happened to the sixth in the Jurassic movie series, Jurassic World Dominion. My name is Tosin and I am the host. I am up in the Midlands near Birmingham. And joining me on the Isle of Wight, no.
Bournemouth,
Joining me in the south of the country, on the south coast, Bournemouth, is Shaun Harris.
Hello.
And joining us from London, a London correspondent, Ollie Nestle.
Hi.
So what we do in this show is we usually go to the cinema each week. We see three films, usually three of us. We see a couple of films at cinema, rate them out of 5, see stuff at home, rate it out of 5. And we use this as a sort of like weird way to try and figure out where has the money been better spent this week. Has it been better spent in cinema or at home? You will excuse me because you might hear a little bit of cuteness in the background, and that is my daughter who is joining us for a little while today. Unlike Sharon, who is not joining us for the first bit because she has not seen Jurassic World Dominion yet and does not want anything to color what her ideas of this film are going to be before she actually goes to see it. So, shall we kick off? In pretty much the only place that we can kick off this week, what is billing itself as the big release, and that is Jurassic World Dominion. Yeah, what is up? Anyway, yeah. So Jurassic World Dominion. Now, Holly, I will let you take this away and let you give us a prezi and tell us this. I'm thinking that this is going to take us a while. We might be 15 minutes on this film. Okay, so Holly, you take it away and you tell us what is Jurassic World Dominion all about. Tell us what the setup is in this film.
Okay, it follows on directly from Jurassic World
Fallen Kingdom.
It
was that forgettable.
The second one, Jurassic World, the second one, which saw Maisie Lockwood, the apparent granddaughter or daughter of somebody whose name I've forgotten.
Grandpa Lockwood, played by James Cromwell,
who suddenly released a load of dinosaurs in the US. It was thoroughly believable, and I would, challenge anybody to dispute that. So on one goes, and you establish that the main characters are all, still kicking around together. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard are living up in a mountain, in the middle of nowhere with Maisie, who is being sought for by many people because she is believed to be the first ever human clone. And at the same time, we have the original key characters of Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler getting in touch over the sudden arrival of giant locusts. All of this is, thoroughly believable. It's somewhat difficult to say much more without giving away things.
Without going to spoiler territory.
Yes, exactly. Blue the Velociraptor has had a baby. We know that because that's in the trailers, so that's fine. And in one of the trailers there is a promise from Chris Pratt. Owen Brady that he will get Blue's baby back. So I think there we are in safe territory. And we also have the return of Ian Malcolm, the great proponent of chaos theory, and all of these original points are brought together into one single film, including some other little, it was asides. It was the thing I particularly enjoyed about it was the way it brought things from everywhere into one place, which I found to be an absolute delight, including, sort of minor characters from the first film who are suddenly much more significant in this one. All of which I found rather joyous.
Oh, okay. Okay, right. So, okay, that is Holly's take on it. So you found that joins that whole thing coming together. Now, we've had a little bit of a sort of like tete-a-tete, shall we say, on our WhatsApp group about this, and so I think it shouldn't be a spoiler for this review to say Holly likes it. Shaun, on the other hand, Shaun, on the other hand, and I'm going to come in as a sort of arbitrator. I think I'm going to be playing a role as a bit of a, what's that called? A mediator today. So every now and then I might say, okay, let the other one talk, let the other one, you made your point. But Shaun, so that is the setup of the film. So dinosaurs all over the world. Dinosaurs are side by side by humans, and then stuff happens. So Shaun, go.
Okay.
What did you take away from this film? What was your? I don't think it's a spoiler to say. What was your problem with this film?
For me, right, the problems here was this, to me, was just a film that was there to make money, it was just a pure one. There was no real effort put into it. Because when I watched the whole thing, and there was two scenes where there was stuff going on, and you looked at the others in the background, and I'd say that Chris Pratt just looked like he just did not want to be there. He looked so wooden. And Sam Neill the same. You could see he was just there to get his money. You could see that, but I didn't believe that he fancied, what the other
Ellie
girl
Sattler,
was.
Laura Dern's character.
Jeff Goldblum was just totally loving and hamming it up and stuff like that. And also, there's so many inconsistencies in the film. If you make a fantasy film, I've not got a problem with fantasy films if you keep the consistencies. I even think in the Marvels one with the Vision, that let that down a bit because it lost a bit. But anyway, so there's sometimes we know how fast raptors are. I mean, blimey, they can chase motorbikes and things,
Yeah.
They're so fast, and yet some people can actually run from them, when you think if you can go as fast as a motorbike, they get you before you've even got like 2 yards down the road.
It should be noted that a man has just won the Man v Horse annual race. So I don't think anything should be more out.
Yeah.
Okay, I can understand, but someone in high
heels.
Okay.
So what you're saying is, if you had Usain Bolt in a Jurassic movie, he might have a chance. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. So so some of that, and it was just like, to me, there was, like the believable thing with the Chinese dude. I don't even know his name. We mentioned giant locusts, and I just thought, what was that? And at the end, he's like. He's like, I'm so for someone who's supposed to be on the ball and that, it's like a little wimpy type thing. You've got Steve Jobs, you've got it's just
I think it's funny how all of a sudden, how in the 80s the bad guy in movies was always some Russian dude, and then it's changed, and nowadays it seems that the bad guy in movies is always some tech billionaire who is trying to do something that is going to destroy mankind. Essentially, like that is.
Who had featured in the first film?
That's the thing. Because there's one particular line that Jeff Goldblum says that is a callback to the first film. That's a callback to Jurassic Park. And when he said it, I was like, why is he saying it like that? That must be a callback to something. And it wasn't until I realized that the main antagonist in this film, who runs a company called Biosyn, who's a guy called Dodson, if you remember the first film, he's the guy who Dennis Nedry speaks to at the beginning, and he's like a cafe, and he's trying to hide his face, and Dennis Nedry goes, "Dodson, it's Dodson. You see, nobody cares." And that it was the same person, and I thought that there were some touches in it that were that were nice. But Shaun, we'll let you get back to your rant before I come back.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't feel, I had no thoughts about any of them really. I didn't empathise with them. I didn't sympathise with any of the characters whatsoever. I know one about going back to the other one. There's like the shaving can, isn't there, really? And it was like, which was quite interesting, because that was a precursor to, because I was wondering, which one? And then when the can comes, you think,
it's like which, because I have to say, there are some things that are just really, really predictable. There's some things that are really predictable, and so as you say, when the shaving can shows up, like I know you something's going to happen. When the shaving can shows up, you're like, okay, I know exactly how it's going to happen now, and then sure enough, it happens.
Yes. So,
okay. Now, this is a weird thing. Because I think that there are some people who managed to see Jurassic Park for the first time in a cinema. And this first time you saw, Holly, I think, remember when we interviewed you for our lockdown interviews? I think
in Slough with my aunt when I was 12 or 13,
Was this actually one of the first films you ever saw in the cinema?
probably the third or fourth.
Yeah, it was one of the first. I remember that, and I think the first time when you see the Brontosaurus in Jurassic Park, for some people that is the moment they fell in love with film. For some people, that is the Wizard of Oz turning from black and white to color. So there is a really, really emotional attachment to the first film. I did not see the first Jurassic Park in a cinema.
Totally understand.
Yeah, I did not see the first Jurassic Park in the cinema, so I don't have as emotional an attachment to it.
No.
I thought that the first one was good. I thought there were some really genius points. I mean, forever the glass of water with ripples going through it. That is just genius. That was just.
I had nightmares about it for years afterwards as well.
Yeah. Sorry, John.
Yeah, I was just I was just saying that actually towards the beginning, there's a bit at the beginning of the film which I did really, really like. Let's just say bridge, big tractors, I always used to call them brontosauruses, but I don't know what they're called now, or brachiosauruses or like whatever name they've got.
Brachiosaurus,
Yeah, that bit with the lights on the machine, I quite like that. I know that was not really
yeah.
I just thought that was I thought that, and I thought I like that bit, and also the although they've nothing to do with Jurassic, they were from the Triassic or another one, but in the cave bit with the Dimetron.
Yes.
Because they was always when I was a nipper, those Dimetrons for some reason with the big fins were always my favourite type. And I had some dinosaurs, top trumps, and I was used to like that one, although it wasn't particularly good. But yeah, so I mean, I didn't hate the film. Don't get me wrong. I didn't hate the film. I just had quite a few issues with it, and I wasn't totally immersed in it. And I think the films gradually, which you posted that thing on our thing, I thought that explained it. I thought that was absolutely inspired, and that's exactly the way I see it.
I think I understand what they were getting with this picture, and I can't even describe the picture, but I can't even describe the picture. I think we just have to post it somewhere on like a Facebook or something. But it was something I saw on Facebook where somebody had compared the Jurassic Park movies to the pictures of a well-drawn horse, and it starts off with like a nice artist rendition that you could see in a museum, and by the time you get to the sixth one, is a child's doodle on the back of a napkin or something like that. What a horse looks like, and the only thing I would argue with that is that I feel like this one is way better. It's such an improvement on the last one. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom I thought was a forgettable slice of film, which is like most people, you can't even remember what happened in it. But
is that the one? Is that the one? I mean, you
see exactly. Shaun, the fact that you started this by asking me, is that the one, tells you everything you know about that film.
But I'm just saying, is that the one with like the greenhouse thing where the dinosaurs walking across the greenhouse?
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, right,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, walking across the greenhouse at the outside of, yes.
I remember it because I will rewatch anything, and in principle I needed to rewatch it, all of the previous ones, before going to see it.
I, on the other hand, thought that Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is a film that I'm never going back to, because I mean, it has some shots in it that I think the final shot of the Brontosaurus in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom I think is beautiful, but then the rest of the film happens, and but I think a big thing that gets me, when I was watching this, I was wondering, so in a Jurassic movie or a Jurassic series or whatever it is that we're calling them now, so is the film about the dinosaurs or is the film about the humans? And I think that is a question that comes to the heart of what is wrong with this film, or what this film struggles with. Is the film about the dinosaurs or is the film about the humans? And if it's a Godzilla film, I mean, on this podcast, I have spoken for ages saying, if you're going to give me a Godzilla film, give me fewer humans. Get rid of the humans. Give me Godzilla, because that's what I came to see. I came to see Godzilla. I came to see Godzilla doing his thing. I don't care about the humans. The humans are pointless. And in this film, I think that they had that. There was that thing. Is like, is this film about the humans or is it about the dinosaurs? So they do a lot of work to try and get the humans. Like Holly, you were talking about getting the old cast back in, the cast from the first one back in. And I think that they do a lot of bending over backwards to get them into the film in a way that I'm not so sure you needed to, because the essentially the section of the film that the old cast come in pretty much has nothing to do with dinosaurs.
No, it doesn't.
It has nothing to do with dinosaurs, and it's this whole espionage thing that they have come up with just to get them into the film. and the problem with Jurassic Park is that when you think about it, at the heart of Jurassic Park is corporate espionage, because the first film, Dennis Nedry, Dodson, the reason why this whole thing started is corporate espionage. And the bits about the new trilogy that have worked, I think that there are the bits where they lean into that. So where they lean into, like you were talking about things that make sense. Like I really like Jurassic World because I was like, that does make sense. Even though all this terrible stuff happened in the past, somebody will still see money and somebody will still try and get that park up and running and get that park operational, and it would still make money. And at the end of the last one, where they went, because every one of these films, they've kind of like tried to end up in a park situation where you're hiding from dinosaurs and dinosaurs are trying to hunt you. They come back, they always come back to that. And I was really hoping that with this one, they would open it up a bit when they said dinosaurs living amongst humans. And the first bit of the film, where they're showing you snippets of what that is like Shaun was talking about the brontosauruses being in what looked like an Alaskan oil field, and how people have to deal with the fact that like you're trying to do your job and then a dinosaur's just gonna walk in there. What do you do about? And I was really intrigued with that. But then they shoved the dinosaurs off the screen for a large part of the running time. They come up with this corporate espionage thing where it's locust with dinosaur DNA. And it becomes all about like, you know, this sort of like evil corporation, and as you said, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg kind of guy who is gonna try and just do his own thing and not realize that the world is burning while he does that. In some cases, literally. So they do that, and then every now and then they just throw a dinosaur at the screen. They just throw a dinosaur at the screen, and the final confrontation is okay. I don't want to say much about the final confrontation, but
yeah, I know. I was going to say, just sorry to come in here, Tosin, because you nailed it exactly. There was one moment, we call it the good, the bad, and the ugly scene.
Yes.
I thought, do you know what? Hey, what? 30 seconds. Oh.
there were a lot of moments where a bit like that. I mean, the fact that and there were so many attempts to sort of like, you know, hark back to the legacy, because obviously nowadays we're getting a lot of legacy sequels is what they're being called. Sequels to films that were made over 20 years ago. And like you had it with Scream, and you're trying to bring the old characters back in, even though they might not necessarily need to be there. And there were bits, so much so that there's a character played by DeWanda Wise, who is the pilot in this film. I mean, her motivations, character motivations do not exist in this film. I'm sorry, but character motivations do not exist. And
I still don't know what the point of her was, but I have no issue with the fact that I don't know what the point of her was. I think that's the key differentiator is
I see what the point of her was. They needed a way to get from A to B. But what I don't see is why she helps them. And it was actually going to a point where I felt like, okay, you're going to find out that she is going to be the granddaughter or the daughter of the only black character in the original Jurassic Park, the Samuel L. Jackson character who says, hang on to your butts. It got to that point that I thought they're just going to try and link everything to everything. And when they do they have the Jurassic World series has had this thing where every single climax has come up to, and I don't know whether they're trying to comment on their own film, but essentially there's the new that we haven't seen before, and then there's the old, and the old from the old franchise triumphs over the new, as if you're saying this new thing will never be as good as the old. And I'm not sure if they realize that's what they're saying. I'm not sure if that's what they realize that's what they're doing, but that's what they've done. And it's.
I mean, I must say, in the one, I don't know which one it was, but the fight between Rexy and the Raptors was probably one of the better.
Was it.
Whatever one that was in.
That was the first one.
Yeah. What's another interesting?
That was the first one.
With the sort of the differences between them is the first one was based on the John Grisham book, and it does deviate in some significant ways from the book.
Michael Crichton book.
Crichton, yes, thank you. Sorry, I'm going to spoil the end for you. John Hammond dies in the book, and frankly, it's better that he does. That I feel they got. I
think they kind of gave John Hammond. They gave Dennis Nedry John Hammond's death in the film.
Yes, or similar, not quite.
Yeah, not quite, but very similar.
Yeah, it was and you arguably had, you know, John Hammond was sort of wasn't quite in it for the money, but sort of was and was foolish.
Yeah.
But one of the big things about the first one is that predominantly the dinosaurs were the enemy.
Yeah.
Almost exclusively.
Yeah.
With some very obvious exceptions.
The
And
T-Rex, the Jurassic Superman.
you don't have that. That's where it starts to shift in what I think it's either the second or the third. It's one of the original Jurassic Park ones. They start having.
I think it's the third one. Because the second one is still loosely based on Michael Crichton's sequel to Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
So and the thing is, so with this film, I mean, Shaun, what you said about people being wooden and all that, I have to agree with you about Sam Neill. And because I was looking at Sam Neill and I was like, was that the Alan Grant accent he used in the first one? I'm not sure. And he, some of these characters don't have much to do in the film. No. They don't have much to do in the film. And it's kind of like, it is a nostalgia thing of let's get these guys back on screen. And I know that a lot of the reviews I've been talking about, isn't it great to have them back on screen? Not, does it make any sense for them to be back on screen? No. It's just, isn't it great to have them back on screen?
See, I'm in that camp. I'm in that, isn't it great to have them back? I don't need it to make sense.
Yeah, and
I'm not looking for logic here.
And this is the thing I'm saying. I think it's roughly those who saw Jurassic Park for the first time on a screen have this emotional connection to it. I just want to see Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler, Ian Malcolm back on screen again. I think the Ian Malcolm character, the Jeff Goldblum one, where he ends up is the one that makes the most sense, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
It's one that makes the most sense to me as to where he would end up.
I don't think at the point where they re-enter it, I don't think there's any issue with where Alan Grant or Ellie Sattler are at their point in their lives.
I have some issues with where Alan Grant is, because Alan Grant is a man who has been in, well, what's the word? He's been in studying dinosaurs for his whole life. He's been trying to find out more about them, and now dinosaurs are there. They're not in a camp. They're not in a thing that he has to get access to. They are in the wild. He can go and have a look at them. He could go and be working with them. He could go and be doing something with them, and he isn't. And that really makes me think, why? They seem to try very hard to just have him be in the same place that he was at the beginning of Jurassic Park. And those are the kind of things where, I mean, I'm with Shaun in that I actually enjoyed. There was bits of this one I was enjoying. I was like, oh, this isn't as bad as Shaun made it out to be. And the scenes that I liked are the ones where they showed you what would happen if you had. I mean, even when they talk about there being a black market trade in dinosaurs, yeah, that would happen. That would totally happen. You have like dinosaur farms. That would happen. Have people having dinosaur kebabs. That would happen. And all those bits where they show you this world that now exists with dinosaurs and humans living by. I liked that, and I wanted to see more of that film. The bit where they said, okay, it's going to be all about dark corridors and us running away from dinosaurs, and I was like, oh, for goodness sake, we have seen this. And it has been done by Steven Spielberg, so you are not going to do it better. So why don't you do something different and show us, like, people who have figured out how to incorporate a T-Rex into a game of American football or something. I mean, show me the team in America that has now got, like, a Velociraptor as their mascot. I want to see that.
That would be a really, really good team.
Yeah, exactly. Or no, someone who has, or show me how they've now incorporated the Olympics so that you actually have, like, the Dino Olympics where you have the Velociraptor chasing against the other. I mean, I want to see that film, but they kind of just go back to give you what Jurassic Park is and what it's always been, and give you its greatest hits, and not that well. But it's so anyway. Shaun, you've been raising your hand for a while. I'm not sure if I've said things.
I'm sort of. It's one of those things. Normally, I remember what I was going to say. I was trying to think, oh yeah, that's it. I mean, when they go to the complex, yes. It's so convenient, all the stuff. It's just like, me and my thing. It's like, oh, they've all come together. Look at that. It's like, that was well done. It's
like we've tripped, and there you are. We were looking for you in this entire forest, and we just happened to fall in the right place that you are.
Miles and miles and miles and miles of stuff.
It's like, oh man, how am I ever going to find my mum and dad? Oh, there they are.
Convenient. The convenience of it was yeah.
And I think that came about because they just didn't have a good way to get all the characters in the same place at the same time. And I think they made a decision when they said, look, some people don't want logic. They just want these people to be together.
Yeah,
And I think they've hit their target market with Holly. And maybe not so much with Shaun and I, but because I just but I mean I was thinking who is this film about, because you've tried to go for both things and you've ended up not developing the dinosaurs enough for us to care. You've ended up not developing the humans enough for us to care. and it's like, pick one, dinosaurs or humans. Who's your film about?
I am very emotionally attached to Blue the dinosaur.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and
there wasn't enough of her in it, frankly.
Yeah, they treat Blue in this film the same way they treat Cyclops in X-Men 2. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Good point there.
That's all I'm going to say.
Well made.
I mean, my thought is it was just purely for making money, because at the moment these things, and it probably will make money, and if it was a 7-year-old or someone like that, they would probably really enjoy it. And I'm not saying Holly might Supergirl. I'm not saying
saying I'm seven.
Yeah.
Just
I am 7.
Oh no,
we are 7.
Okay, let's put it this way. I have a nephew who was probably 7 or maybe even 5 when the first Jurassic World was released and loved it. So there's a whole generation for who Jurassic World is their Jurassic Park. So it's and that's okay. That's okay. I mean, these films, apart from the second one, which I really think was dire, they're not bad. They're not bad. It's just when they have a promise and they don't quite deliver on the promise, and the promise of they also give you glimpses of what the promise could be, and then they chuck it for some other contravened story, or like, it's just kind of anyway, contrived. That's what I'm looking for. Contrived story that just kind of like is, you can almost see the bean counters going, okay, so Chris Pratt plus Bryce Dallas Howard plus Jeff Goldblum plus Sam Neill plus Ellie Sattler on the screen at the frame at the same time equals money. but I agree with you, Shaun, on the inconsistencies, like, because there's a bit that has, like, locusts on fire, and there's a bit where a dinosaur essentially within 5 minutes a dinosaur has an interaction with a locust on fire. The first time it's treated as nothing. The second time it's treated as this really big deal, and there's no difference. And you're like, wait, what happened between those two? What happened between those two shots to make that have that different of a? But it's kind of like Hollywood magic. Yeah. So, but anyway, I will stop then. How many stars would we give this? Unless anybody has anything else they want to say about this.
I would just like to add that I agree with all of your criticisms, and I don't care.
And you don't care.
You don't care.
Well done, Holly. I appreciate the self-awareness.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. How many stars would you give this?
I'm
Holly?
giving it 5.
Okay.
That doesn't fit with our criteria. So, right, so I'm gonna start giving some 5 then. But
made me so happy.
Well, that's good enough then.
It warrants a 5 for the joy I felt.
Oh, okay. So we have figured this out. We had this the other. I mean, I can't remember what film it was that I saw that I said it was a 5-star viewing experience for me, but I had to admit it was a 3-star film.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair enough. Yeah.
I think this probably falls into that bracket as well, but I'm probably still inclined to give it a 4, because I think they did manage to do it.
Give it a 5, Holly. It's all right. I mean, if you enjoyed it, that's what cinema's all about.
It made me so happy, and I thought they did pull it together well in an illogical fashion to make lots of money. But it looked beautiful, and just the references, the throwback references, were a thing of joy for me. So, yeah.
All right. Okay, cool. And so that's a 4. Did we settle on a 4?
No, I'm giving it a 5.
Okay, cool. We're going to a 5.
I'm not going to budge.
Shaun, what do you reckon?
For me, I didn't really enjoy this film. It didn't really do it for me. Yeah, I was going to say I can only give it. I should be. Do you reckon it's too harsh? But I'll give it a 2. I give it a 2.
Okay, cool. And for me, it's a 3.
Pardon me.
I said there might be a fight. There might be a fight. To be honest with you, it wasn't as. It was a lot more civil than I thought it would be. So for me, I would give it a 3. I'll give it a 3 because I think that there are
moments in it.
There are moments in it. There are moments. I mean, like the first time we see the locusts. That is actually the first time we see the locusts. I thought that was a well-directed sequence. It was a bit birds. It was a bit like the birds like.
I thought exactly that.
Yeah, it was a bit the birds like, and I felt and it's funny how the characters who I felt most scared for in the entire film were those two at the beginning where the locusts show up, who were only on screen for like 5 seconds.
Yeah, I was exactly
the ones you're supposed to care about, man.
My personal opinion was that I was thinking if there was something that was that bad, there would have been a worldwide thing to destroy them, because I can't see in the world that they would have put up with. It's just like, oh yeah, they're sweeping across America. Oh look, they're taking all the things like that. They'd have had like flame things and things to destroy them. They just wouldn't have put up with it.
The
world wouldn't have put up with that. They couldn't.
Okay, sure, Shaun, you say that right, but the thing is, like, we've actually had swarms of locusts and stuff like that destroying huge swathes of crops.
But not like that.
Huge swathes of crops, and nothing's been done.
I know the GM ones weren't getting touched, but they would have that size. Tosin, you know yourself, locusts. What? They're this size,
locusts are usually that. These are like massive ones.
They do devastate. Plagues of locusts, but if you see a plague of locusts that size, there'd be nothing.
You see now, Shaun, and this is why I think that they should have. I wanted to see more of the world at large. Maybe they were too busy dealing with all the dinosaurs.
Possibly.
Yeah,
I just think that would have been. They'd have really gone.
But at the same time,
the people were like, oh yes, just accept it as part of the thing. But so yeah, you have got a point there.
But also,
dinosaurs, maybe we'll accept giant locusts.
Also, the thing is as well at the same time, going into the corporate espionage thing, and I'm think about Don't Look Up. So in the film Don't Look Up, you had like the Mark Zuckerberg, Stephen Jobs character, where they try and do the logical thing because it would benefit him not to do the logical thing. He lobbies for them not to do the logical thing, and because in this whole thing you have biosyn, and biosyn are essentially this thing is working for us. I can imagine that they were doing a lot of lobbying to make sure that this thing doesn't get dealt with.
Okay, yeah, good point. Okay.
Yeah, but you see, there's like 2 different films in this thing, and they needed to explain them both better. But
another quick question about it: was the company called Biosyn in the first film?
I don't remember.
I'm going to have to. I'm going to rewatch it and find out.
I remember that the original company that did it, like John Hammond's company was called Engine. But I can't remember what the competitor was called. I just remember
could have been Biosyn. Anyway, I'm going to find out.
Do we want Sharon to come in now? We want to take
Yes. Let's give Sharon a call. Let's give Sharon, because Sharon has decided that she's staying out of this until.
It's going to be great. We'll have to stay dead quiet on that, and we won't say nothing more now. We'll do when Sharon sees it, she can give us because she will give a totally unbiased opinion. So
good thing, Shaun, because I totally forgotten about giving Sharon a call to come back in. Let's give her a call. Call in Sharon Bolin. Sharon?
Hello?
Sharon, you can come in now. We have finished talking about Jurassic World.
Okay, then I shall I'm on my phone because we haven't got much longer, have we? So I think I'll join you on my phone for the last.
I don't know. Jurassic World took a lot of time,
Really long time.
But we should have about 15 minutes left. So yeah, jump off on the phone.
I'll get on my phone on then. I'll join in a minute.
See you in a sec. Bye.
I think it's in a bit. Bye.
So. Now, this is me trying to get onto Apple TV Plus and watch everything that they have before my 5-month trial finishes. Sharon, have you managed to get your Barclay card thing working?
Yes, I did, and I have watched Schmigadoon.
Oh, okay, cool. At the end, let us know what you knew about Schmigadoon at the end of this. But
So that is the only thing I watched this week. I watched the entirety of Schmigadoon.
Schmigadoon, yay, Schmigadoon. But the other thing that I have watched on Apple TV Plus this week is Slow Horses. Now, Slow Horses is based apparently on a series of books by a guy called a writer called Mick, and he's kind of like I would say almost like an updated version of like the sort of John le Carré Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, where the whole idea behind it is that spy work is not glamorous. and this kicks off, and you have a character who's called River Cartwright, And River Cartwright is a trainee spy, and it kicks off with this whole airport, because obviously the spy, so it has to be airport. It's an airport set sequence where they're trying to figure out who has a bomb, figure the intelligence, catch this person, make sure that the bomb doesn't go off, and that's what the whole opening sequence is all about. Really, really well done sequence, really, really sort of like high ratcheted. It's almost like something out of one of the good Bourne movies. And what you find out is that something goes wrong. Like when he's on this exercise, something goes wrong on this job, and he ends up being sent to a place called Slough House. So the next time you see him after this opening sequence, he's in a place called Slough House, and Slough House is run by an old sort of like Cold War era spy called Jackson Lamb, played by Gary Oldman. Another Tinker Tailor Soldier spy, sort of like, link there. Played by Gary Oldman, Jackson Lamb. And the first time, and to give you an example of what this guy is like, the first time you meet Jackson Lamb, he's asleep, he farts, and he farts so much that he wakes himself up. He farts so much that he wakes himself up, and like he sleeps in his office, he lives all there, there's cigarettes, he's always smoking, always drinking something. This place is like somewhere in Barbican, behind all these back things. It has a front door that doesn't open, but these people still work for MI5. And it's essentially the house you send all the people who have messed up. So everybody who works in here, they're all spies who work for MI5, but they've messed up in one way or another. And so they've been relegated, so to say, to Slough House. And they're called slow horses because they don't do anything. They don't get involved in operations. They just do admin. They just do all that kind of stuff. And Jackson Lamb does a lot to make sure that it stays that way. That all these people here, he's constantly calling them useless. There's a bit in the trailer for the first season where one of his people says, "Oh, I didn't mean to kill him," and it's like, "Of course you didn't mean to kill him. If you meant to kill him, he'll still be alive." And those are the kind of things that he says, and he just constantly berates everybody who works for him. But then something comes up, and it seems like even though the people in Slough House are not supposed to get involved in operations, they're involved in an operation, and then they're trying to figure out, okay, what on earth is going on here? Why are we involved in this operation? And because River Cartwright is trying to get back to, they call it the Park, which is Regent's Park, the MI5 office. He's trying to get back into the good books. He's trying to get back to the Premier Leagues of spyhood, so to say. He's trying to do all these different things to show that, yeah, I'm worthy, I'm still a spy, I've still got it. Please put me back in the game, coach. And then you have Kristen Scott Thomas, who plays the head of MI5, who has like this sort of rivalry going on with the Gary Oldman character of Jackson Lamb, and it shows up that as the show goes on, things are afoot and things aren't quite what they seem, and there's essentially like a conspiracy, and it's all about people in Slough House and Jackson Lamb, even though he doesn't want to be bothered and he doesn't want to get involved, slowly being pulled in, and slowly his team being pulled in to try and figure out what is going on and what is our part to play in it. I loved this. I thought it was really, really good. It's like high-end spy TV stuff. It really gets across the whole point that, look, spy work is not glamorous, but towards the end, it's so I think the angle that it takes on it is one that you haven't really seen much. As I said, you have seen it in some bits of things like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, but it isn't glamorous. It's just kind of like, it's about the detecting, and it's about the figuring out, and it's about how you go from this bit to that bit to that bit. Towards the end, it goes a bit 24, but you'll allow it that because you have to have a conclusion to a story. You have to have a conclusion to a story. So I thought it was really, really good. I thought that the acting across the board was brilliant with Gary Oldman, Kristen Scott Thomas, Jack Lowden, Olivia Cook. I thought that it was just brilliant. I thought that it was really, really good. I would give this a 4 out of 5. And as I said, Shaun, I think you would really like it because I think it's up your This Makes Sense street.
Right, okay.
I think it's up your This Makes Sense street. So Sharon, if you're looking for a recommendation for the next thing to get into on Apple TV Plus, I would recommend Slow Horses, and also Severance. That's another show I'm watching, which I might finish by next week, because as I said, I have 5 months. I've got to make good use of my 5 months.
Yes, I've signed up for the 5 months as well. It took me a long time to find it.
Yeah,
I went into the web because I went into like the members area, couldn't find it. So I had to log out of the members area and go into like the random customers only thing.
Exactly.
Is this the Barclay card thing?
It's the Barclay card thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They do seem to hide it a bit because I think they want to give it to you, but they want too many people taking it up. So yeah, but if you do that, so Slow Horses, 4 out of 5, I think it's really good, and it's one of the best things I have seen Gary Oldman do in ages. Where you can,
like Shaun, you were talking earlier about like, you know, actors looking interested in what it is that they do or just collecting a paycheck. And this is Gary Oldman looking interested. So much so that there's a scene with him singing the Proclaimers 500 miles in a car, which is it's good. It's good. So if you can go watch Slow Horses. And now we go back to cinema. And on cinema, so that was so much quicker than Jurassic World, wasn't it? But and now back on cinema, we have a film. Shaun has done it again. Shaun has managed to go through cinema and squirrel out a film that nobody else knew was actually existed.
Yeah.
And this is a film called All My Friends Hate Me.
All My Good Friends. It was quite funny. So I went
All My Good Friends Hate Me.
Yeah. All my friends hate me.
All my friends hate me.
All my friends hate me. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
This was quite funny because I went into the cinema and blow me, there's a guy that worked at the Isle of Wight one that has was transferred over there. So I had a good old chat with him for a little while, but I'll tell more about that later. So yeah, I'm like, wow, what you? And we had a talk. So down to this film. This film is something I think Sharon and possibly Holly absolutely adore. So basically, it's a story. It's a bunch of university friends. They haven't seen each other for a while. It's this person's birthday, and they're all meeting up at this. Well, it's a massive stately home farmhouse sort of thing that is owned by one of his university friends called, that's George and Fig. They're sort of married to each other. There's an ex-girlfriend there as well, Claire, old flame. There's Archie, who's just like a total toff. Imagine Boris Johnson on just shed loads of alcohol.
Yeah, rather not, but yeah.
So he goes off. He's got his new girlfriend, and so he leaves his girlfriend. Says, "I'm going with my university friends," and he loses his way a little bit. So he asks an old country boy, you know, "Oh, do you know where this place is?" And he goes, "Yes, I do. I know where that place is." And there's this little pause. He says, "Can you tell?" Anyway, so there's this. He meets this guy. He turns up at the house. It's open. He goes in. No one's there. So he's sitting there all lonely, having a beer, thinking, "What's that?" And then his friends come up. They say, "Where were you? Where were you? We left the note for you, you know, to meet us down the pub. We've been down the pub and all that." So he's like, "Oh, okay, I missed you." And they brought back this sort of a real Darcy, or Devon, because it takes place in Devon, a real sort of this brings this character back who makes him feel a little bit threatened. So yeah, and then there's other stuff that goes on, like he imagines they're talking about him, and he goes to sleep and he hears laughter and all that, and they say, "Oh yeah, what about Claire? You know, Claire, his girlfriend, she did something when you left her and all that." And it's becoming more and more, and you are thinking, you never know what is so good about this. You never know if it's just his paranoia. If it was me, it would have been paranoia, and I'd have got the hell out of Dodge. I'd have thought, I don't know with this nonsense. But anyway, so it goes on, and he thinks this stranger from the pub is gonna, you know, he gets more and more paranoid basically. And then there's a scene like out of Straw Dogs where they go on a shoot, and so you got all the country people there going on, and yeah, this is a really, really interesting, great, well acted movie. You know, the characters, you can't really, they're sort of, you hate them, but you've got a little bit of sympathy with them as well. You know what I mean? So
is it one of those things where you hate them, but you also know somebody like that?
Yeah, you know somebody like that, and you can have a little bit of sympathy with them, like you know, like the really posh drunkard. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, Tim, nice but dim, but you know what I mean. So yeah, so there's all things. They put a party on at the pub, and you got all this, you know, it doesn't go, but this guy chases him with an axe. But it's just he gets totally paranoid. And his girlfriend turns up, and then he thinks that it gets even worse, and it comes to this big reveal at the end. So how much time have I got left?
You got a minute and 50 seconds.
So basically, it's like bits of comedy, it's horror films. Reminded me very much of one of those Pete Walker 1960s type, 1970s type horror moments. You know, like House of Hammer type things. You know what I mean, with the woods and the strange folk and what have you. But this was class. This was a class movie. So I recommend.
How many stars?
Pardon?
How many stars would you give it?
Oh, this. I know we were talking about earlier with Holly, but for me, this would be a 5-star, and I recommend if you get a chance to see it, Sharon.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, again, now we've had this for a couple of weeks now, and there seems to be a vein of British films that are being released that are really good, but are not anywhere that people can watch. So it's like, like Shaun is like, I would recommend you catch this, and I'm like, yeah, so let's have a look. Closest place to me is an hour and a half away. An hour and a half.
Really, again.
So I'm close to Birmingham. You think, okay, that's a student town. They should show something like this. But I have to go to either Gloucester or Northampton to watch this film. And so we had this last week with The Outfit. We had this the week before with, not so long with The Roadhouse. These are all these films that Shaun goes and squirrels out, finds them and says, "Oh, it was amazing. You should go watch it." And we're like, we can't.
Yeah, I know. It was. I mean, as I say, it's. Yeah, I mean, I thought this was. I couldn't wait to tell you about it, actually. I almost went out and said, "Sharon, see this movie, mate." It's good. It was like the other one, the one I said about the other day.
The Outfit.
These films would be. It's such a shame they don't go to the islands, because.
Apparently, Shaun, what we have found is that these films don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere. No.
It's not they don't go to the island; they don't go anywhere. And it says that this is it's put this film as a 2021 film.
Yeah. So, I feel that I think like the blockbusters. I don't seem to like all the ones that make all the money, and then I see these type of films, and it's just. I mean, the atmosphere was there. They were funny, but it was just, it was just the whole thing worked. So, and it was believable, But as I say, for me, after about the second day, maybe even the first day, I'd have probably gone home. I would have got.
You mean being in this? Yeah. Oh, and Shaun, I think looking at the cast list, the guy who I think would have played the posh one. Was that character called Harry?
Harry. Well, no, Harry was he's the dude that he's the dude from the pub.
Okay, cool. So Harry, the dude from the pub.
Archie was the
okay, cool. All right, I see. Oh yeah, I can see his face, Graham Dixon. Yeah, he does look like he would be good at doing posh.
So,
but anyway, the guy who played Harry, Dustin Demery Burns, he's also in Slow Horses. So
really? Oh right, okay, that would be good then.
Cool. So now we carry on to after All My Friends Hate Me, we carry on to the final thing that we're rating this film this week before Sharon gets to tell us what she thought about Schmigadoon. And now this is Love Life Season 2. So Love Life Season 2, this is on BBC iPlayer. I saw this, and there's a Love Life Season 1, and this is each season of this is self-contained. And it's usually going through the love life of somebody in 10 episodes, like different relationships that they've had at different points in their life. The first season, it was Anna Kendrick. And you met her, and it was like, the relationships that she went through, and not just like romantic relationships, because there's one that focuses on the relationship with her mother, for instance. And I really like Love Life Season 1. Now, Love Life Season 2 has decided we've done Darby, that's her character. We're now going to go into another character, and we're going to go into a character called Marcus, who is played by William Jackson Harper, who some of you might recognize from The Good Place. He played Chidi in The Good Place. And it's pretty much the same format. The idea is that when you meet him, he's married, he's in an interracial marriage, and he meets this other woman outside a wedding that occurs in season 1 with Darby. Outside Darby's wedding, he meets this other woman, Mia, and they start chatting and everything like that. And then he starts finding out that maybe he isn't quite happy in his marriage, or maybe he is. Maybe he's just having itchy feet, or it's a 7-year itch or anything like that. And then you go through the different sections, or you go through 10 different relationships that this guy has that lead to, finally finding what love is for him. And that's pretty much what Love Life is. It's pretty much it is. It goes through, it's observational. There's a one night stand that he hooks up with where the woman ends up being younger than he thought, and she's in university, and he's thinking, I'm too old to be in a university dorm. What the heck am I doing here? There's a relationship that he kind of thinks, usually he overthinks everything, so he decides, I'm not going to overthink anything, I'm just going to go into it. And then he goes into a relationship, and then he realizes after a while, this was a mistake. It goes into lockdown, and it goes into what happens with relationships in lockdown, and what that kind of effect it will actually have on you and all that. So I like the idea of this season, of this show. I think it is a well executed thing. I, however, think that season 1 was probably a bit better, because season 2 ends up being not so much just about him, but it's almost kind of like a romantic comedy where it's about, it's kind of like you have a meet cute at the beginning, and then you have like all these different relationships that go on, but it keeps going back to this one relationship, and this one relationship keeps standing up over and above every other one, and it kind of ends up in a place that you think it will end up. By the time it finishes, I was kind of hoping it's like, you just want somebody to be happy. you just want somebody to be happy. You want somebody to find something that looks like love. And so even though I was thinking, well, if that happened, that would be a bit too, maybe they're gonna do this, maybe they're gonna do that. Well, if they did that, it might be more interesting, but my God, that would be heartless. And this was going around my head. So in the end, I was kind of like, yeah, that ended in right about the right place. I'm happy where that ended, but it was a bit predictable. So I would give this 3 out of 5. I think that there's some really good things that it does. There's some things that it talks about. It talks about race. It talks about, like, a black person working in a mostly white area, because obviously there's the section on the lockdown. There's also a section that has to do with Black Lives Matter, because Black Lives Matter and the lockdown are inextricably linked. They happen at the same time, and so it goes through all those sort of things. And I think it has some good observations. But all in all, I was kind of like, it's a bit of a romantic comedy with some good observations. So I'd give it a 3 out of 5. So that's 3 out of 5 for Love Life Season 2 on BBC iPlayer. And now that we have got all that out of the way, I guess all that is left to do is to, let's figure out who do you think has won this week. So Sharon, we've only had 4 things, 2 things in cinema, 2 things at home. You have seen some of the discourse that has happened on what's the other thing? WhatsApp before this came up, and you have heard 3 of the reviews today, 2 of the ones on Netflix, 1 of the ones in cinema. Who do you think has won this week?
Well, as Shaun was a 5 for cinema, I'll probably say cinema. Well, hopefully that will swing it.
Okay, all right, cool. Shaun, Holly, what do you guys think?
I think cinema.
Cinema.
I think Holly's thing, cinema. Cinema's got it this week. After a few weeks of streaming, I'm pretty certain that cinema would have nailed it this week. After
a few weeks of streaming, cinema has nailed it this week. Cinema has got it with an average of 4.16, and streaming only gave us a 3.33. But I think, okay, if I may, because every now and then on this podcast, we do get a little bit highfalutin as to why is cinema, what is the point of cinema, why, and all that. And I think this week cinema has shown us the things that pretty much only cinema can do. So something like Jurassic World, the fact that Holly had all the feels and all the excitement and all the 5-star watching experience
was wearing a t-shirt for it.
You were wearing.
I was wearing a dinosaur eats man t-shirt.
Have you got any of the toys?
Sadly, no.
Yeah, I think that that could only have happened on a big screen, and that is cinema comes in and says what
cinema is.
Yeah, cinema goes, even if the film or the story might not work for you, we will give you a spectacle, and that's what cinema can do.
Yeah, cinema, that's what cinema is. I think the joy with watching those indie films at the cinema is you can concentrate more on them. I think, like the films I watch, like All My Friends Hate Me, I could be totally focused on that. Whereas I think sometimes, if there's a film that is in that vein, you can sometimes get distracted easy if you're at home watching it on TV. Whereas if you're at the cinema, you take it all in, you take in the whole peripheral film, So but no, I know cinema's made for that.
And I also think that when you find a film, because for instance, this is a film that you didn't hear about before you watched it, and when you find a film like that in the cinema, there is almost more of like a bit of like an earth treasure thing. And I know this sounds extremely pretentious, but it's almost kind of like, an earth treasure that you found, and it's like, oh, this is just for me. I'm the only one who knows about this whole thing in the whole world, which I think it's not quite the same when you just stumble across it at, 10 p.m. on BBC 4 at home. All right, cool. So that is that done. So we're going to do Sharon. Tell us what you thought about Schmigadoon quickly, and then we'll go for Shaun's final picture quiz behind his head. So Sharon, go for it.
Yeah, I thought it was a hoot, really. I did particularly like the carousel references.
Yep.
Where with the Barker, as he was called in Carousel, I did think, yes, I like that particularly.
Or was that the rapscallion?
The rapscallion. That's basically nearly everything he sang, everything he did was basically lifted straight from Carousel. So
did he even have the striped t-shirt?
No, he had the sort of the the really high waist trousers and the sort of sweater.
And the flat cap.
I'm so gonna have to see this. I am so gonna have to see this.
Sean, I think you'd love it.
Where he says, "Hey, why am I thinking about falling in love with you? Why are you making me think?" It's like a line practically from Carousel. And so, he does a soliloquy about his My Boy Bill, and then so he does like a sort of soliloquy, the same sort of thing in this. So yeah, I thought that was hilarious. And I must admit, the funniest moment was probably inadvertent. I was watching the Sound of Music episode, excruciating song, as you're aware of, when it started at the very beginning, and then my brother walked in just as they started singing, and so, trying to explain that one.
It's like, well, I don't remember this is Sound of Music. No, you don't.
Because he stopped dead. He went, "What is this?" And then a couple of minutes later, he says, "Is it supposed to look like that?" I said, "Yes, it's a T-shirt, 1940s musicals." I said, "You don't want to know."
I might go back and watch Schmigadoon. I mean, because it's only 6 episodes and they're all like half an hour. It's brilliant.
So I think if you know films like Carousel, Sound of Music, State Fair, Seven Brides, there's references to the Music Man.
I didn't realise. I didn't realise that there was separate episodes based on each musical on a different. musical.
No, it isn't. It isn't. I mean, you might have one episode that has like 3 or 4 musicals thrown in there.
Right. Okay.
So it
but some of them have like a stronger theme than others, where you think that is they've obviously taken the.
I like the show, but
it was funny. There's some excruciating moments, as there are in musicals, because you do get a little insta love where they walk along and oh, they're not singing. And so there are moments of where you think, I've seen that film. I thought it was a hoot. It made me laugh. Yeah, it made me appreciate musicals for just how ridiculous they really are, but I still love them. Yeah, so I thought it was an affectionate sort of spoof of musicals of a certain era, shall we say.
Yeah, cool, good. We're glad. I'm glad, because it's always a bit of a fear when you recommend something that you end up being wrong, and I'm glad, Holly, that we were not. We were 100% not. Right, cool. Now, until next week, I'm not even sure whether that bit's going to be in the edits, because I'm going to try and cut it out and put it to a movie quiz. But until next week, it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Ooh, next week is Thor. Thor, Love and Thunder.
Yeah, we got Thor. We got Elvis. I'm looking forward to.
Thor, Love and Thunder. Oh, next week might be cinema could bring the big guns on next week, or cinema could wet the bed.
And there's that one I think called The Black Telephone as well.
Oh, The Black Phone with Ethan Hawke.
Black Phone, yeah.
And The Black Phone.
I have to do a trip without my cinema buddies then, just to catch up.
All right, cool, good stuff.
I'm already checking the listings for next week on Odeon.
Yeah, in the meantime, Shaun, Schmigadoon, and
Sharon,
Sharon, Slow Horses.
Right.
We've got to rinse these.
Apple
TV Plus
and Sharon, Jurassic World as well.
You got
give us your thoughts on that.